What if the people you loved most turned their backs on you, leaving you with nothing but 2 suitcases and a broken heart? Imagine standing on a cold curb, betrayed by your own child, with nowhere to go. Now, picture rising from that despair to reclaim your power in a way they'd never expect. Today, we're diving into a story that's not just about revenge. It's about resilience, truth, and the quiet strength of a woman who refused to be erased. I'm your host, and this is a tale of a mother who turned betrayal into empowerment, buying the very building her daughter and son-in-law lived in and rewriting her story on her own terms. Stick around, because this journey will leave you questioning what it really means to take control. Hit that subscribe button, comment where you're watching from, and let's get started. Meet Margaret, a 58-year-old widow from Cedar Park, Texas, who believed in the unbreakable bond of family. After her husband's death from cancer, she sold their home, unable to bear the memories. Her daughter, Amanda, offered her a place to stay with her and her husband, Chad. But what seemed like a lifeline quickly became a nightmare. Chad's cold demeanor, eye rolls, muttered insults like freeloader made Margaret feel like an intruder in her daughter's home. She cooked, cleaned, stayed quiet, but nothing was enough. One night, over a dinner of chicken pot pie, Chad dropped a bombshell: "We're not a charity. You're an extra mouth to feed." Amanda, her own daughter, didn't defend her. Instead, she mumbled, "Maybe it's best if you find something more stable." Let's pause here. Imagine pouring your life into your child. Every sacrifice, every saved dollar, every moment of love, only to have them stand by as you're cast out. This isn't just a story, it's a gut punch. I've seen this in real life too. My friend Sarah, a single mom, once shared how her brother refused to help when she lost her job, saying, "You need to figure it out." That betrayal cut deeper than any financial struggle. Margaret, like Sarah, stood at a crossroads. She packed her bags, walked out, and ended up in a rundown motel, the kind where hope feels as faded as the wallpaper. But here's where we start to see Margaret's strength, even if she didn't know it yet. She didn't scream or beg. She left with dignity, carrying the weight of her daughter's silence. That silence, it's not just absence. It's a wound. In my view, this moment reflects the universal truth. Betrayal by family isn't just about what's said, it's about what's not said. Margaret's story challenges us to ask, how do we respond when the people we trust most let us down? Do we crumble, or do we find a spark to keep going? For Margaret, that spark was about to ignite. 3 months in that motel, Margaret faced rejection after rejection. Jobs weren't easy to come by for a grieving widow in her late 50s. The loneliness was suffocating, but one night, sorting through a box of keepsakes, she found something that changed everything: her mother's diary. Its pages revealed a secret, a decades-old affair with Harold James Sterling, a Texas oil tycoon. Entries spoke of love, regret, and a promise. Sterling had set up a trust for Margaret, hidden through his lawyer, Leonard Goldstein. This revelation wasn't just a plot twist, it was a lifeline. Margaret contacted Goldstein, who confirmed the truth. Sterling, her biological father, had left her over $1 million in assets, bank accounts, investments, titles. For the first time, Margaret felt seen, not as a burden, but as someone worthy. This moment resonates because it's not just about money, it's about identity. Finding out you're the child of someone who shaped a city, who left you a legacy, is like discovering a hidden part of yourself. Let's reflect on this. Secrets like these aren't uncommon. I read about a woman in Ohio who, at 60, learned her father was a local politician who'd funded her college anonymously. Like Margaret, she used that knowledge to rebuild her confidence, starting a small business. Margaret's discovery gave her power, but it also raised a question. What do you do with a truth that changes everything? Do you hide it or wield it? Margaret chose the latter, and it set the stage for a move no one saw coming. Margaret didn't rush back to confront Amanda or Chad. Instead, she stayed in Dallas, processing her new reality. She learned about real estate, investments, and contracts, arming herself with knowledge. Then, she found it. The apartment building where Amanda and Chad lived was up for auction, distressed due to unpaid taxes. Using her inheritance, Margaret created an anonymous LLC, ML Holdings, and bought the building. This wasn't revenge, it was strategy. She became their landlord without them knowing, holding the power they'd stripped from her. Here's where the story gets intense. Margaret tripled their rent, citing market rates. Chad predictably exploded, sending angry emails and demands to meet the owner. Amanda left voicemails, her voice cracking with stress, but Margaret stayed silent. This silence wasn't cruelty, it was a mirror reflecting their choices back at them. I find this fascinating because it shows how power can be quiet. Margaret didn't need to shout or threaten, she let the consequences speak for themselves. To make this real, let's look at a similar story. In 2019, a woman named Lisa in California inherited a small fortune from a distant relative. After her family refused to help during her divorce, she bought their neighborhood's community center and turned it into a resource hub for single parents. Like Margaret, Lisa used her newfound power to rewrite her narrative, not just for herself, but for others. Margaret's actions buying the building, raising the rent, weren't about destruction. They were about reclaiming control and showing that betrayal has a cost. Chad's ego couldn't handle the rent increase. He sent threatening notes, dug into the LLC's ownership, even impersonated a lawyer to get answers. Meanwhile, Amanda was crumbling under his control. He checked her phone, followed her to work, blamed her for their financial strain. Margaret, now living in a sleek downtown rental, watched from a distance, her heart torn between pain and resolve. Amanda's visits grew more desperate, her apologies more raw, but Margaret held her ground, letting her daughter face the reality of her choices. This part of the story hits hard because it's about the cost of loyalty to the wrong person. Amanda's silence when Chad kicked Margaret out wasn't just a moment, it was a choice that shaped their future. I've seen this in my own circles. A colleague of mine, Maria, stayed with a controlling partner for years, ignoring his red flags because she feared being alone. It wasn't until he sabotaged her career that she left, rebuilding her life through therapy and support groups. Amanda's story mirrors this. Her loyalty to Chad blinded her to his toxicity until the pressure became unbearable. Margaret's response, though, is what sets her apart. By staying silent, she gave Amanda space to see the truth. This isn't just a power play, it's a lesson in boundaries. How often do we rush to fix things for loved ones, even when they've hurt us? Margaret's restraint shows us that sometimes stepping back is the strongest move you can make. The turning point came at a tenant meeting. Margaret, dressed sharply, revealed herself as the owner of ML Holdings. Chad's disbelief turned to rage, accusing her of manipulation, while Amanda's shock gave way to a quiet defense. She's not your enemy. You are. This moment was electric not because of the drama, but because it marked Amanda's awakening. She was starting to see Chad for who he was and Margaret for who she'd always been. This confrontation reminds me of a story from a Reddit thread I found. A man in his 50s, betrayed by his business partner, bought out their company secretly and revealed it during a board meeting. The partner's stunned silence mirrored Chad's. It's not about gloating, it's about standing in your truth. Margaret's reveal wasn't just about the building, it was about reclaiming her identity. She wasn't the extra mouth anymore. She was the one holding the keys. What's powerful here is the shift in perception. Margaret didn't just change her circumstances, she changed how others saw her, including her daughter. This challenges us to think, how do we reclaim our worth when others diminish it? Margaret's answer was to act, not react, and let her actions speak louder than words. Amanda left Chad after he tried to control her again, changing the locks and starting therapy. She found her mother's diary, learning about Sterling's trust, and began rebuilding their relationship. Margaret sold the building, donating half the proceeds to a women's shelter named after her mother, Eleanor House, and bought a modest home in Cedar Park. She and Amanda shared small moments, grilled cheese, laughter, a phoenix painting, rebuilding trust slowly. Chad, faced with legal threats for his harassment, vanished, his threats silenced by Margaret's strategic foresight. This resolution is more than a happy ending, it's a testament to resilience. Margaret's journey mirrors stories like that of Oprah Winfrey, who rose from poverty and abuse to build an empire, not by seeking revenge, but by claiming her space. Margaret's donation to the shelter shows her transformation wasn't just personal, it was communal. She turned her pain into purpose, helping others who'd stood on that same curb with nowhere to go. Margaret's story isn't about revenge, it's about redemption. She didn't just buy a building, she bought back her dignity. She didn't just triple the rent, she tripled her resolve. And in the end, she didn't just forgive Amanda, she forgave herself. The lesson here is clear: your worth isn't defined by those who betray you, but by the strength you find in your darkest moments. Silence isn't weakness, it's a weapon when wielded with purpose. So, ask yourself, what's your truth, and how will you claim it? Share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe for more stories of resilience, and let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, stay strong, stay true, and never let anyone erase you.